You wake to the sound of water dripping, slow, rhythmic, endless. Somewhere outside the hut a dog is howling, low and sharp like it's lost something it hasn't yet realised it's going to miss. The clay roof above you groans, a breeze sneaks through the cracks in the walls, but you are hot, burning under your skin, as if your body is trying to boil you from the inside out. Your mouth is dry, your eyes itch. You try to sit up, but your arms won't move the way they used to. One hand feels heavier than the other, numb and swollen. You look down. There's a scratch, just above your wrist, thin, barely visible. A memory, not a wound. You don't remember how it got there. A thorn, maybe. A branch. One of the village dogs, nipping in play. But the skin around it is wrong. Purple, raised, oozing something yellow and sour. You press your fingers against it lightly, and then everything tilts. The walls bend inward. The dirt floor ripples. Your head fills with sound. Whispers layered over whispers. Voices you don't recognize but that somehow know your name. You drop your hand and curl your fingers into the blanket. The hut is spinning. Your own breath sounds like someone else's. Your mother enters carrying a bowl of boiled grain and a cloth soaked in river water. Her face changes the moment she sees you. Just slightly. Her lips part, but she says nothing. She places the bowl at your feet and doesn't meet your eyes. Instead, she picks up the charm she hung above your bed, an old clay disc carved with the symbol of the mountain god, and tightens the cord. The healer came last night, she tells you. You don't remember. He burned incense, drew ash across your chest, said something was moving in your blood. Something not yours. Not a fever, your mother says, but a spirit. You try to answer, but your tongue feels thick. Your jaw won't open fully. You taste metal, then salt, then nothing. The voices return, not outside, inside. They don't speak a language you know, but somehow you understand them. Not words, just feelings, urges, instructions. Your foot begins to twitch. Your hand reaches out without asking permission. You touch the edge of the clay bowl and knock it over. The grain spills across the floor. Your mother doesn't move to clean it. She's watching your eyes now, finally, as if trying to see if you're still behind them. You aren't sure. She leaves the hut. You don't hear her footsteps. You don't hear anything at all. Only the scratch. It burns now. You can feel something pulsing beneath the skin, thread-like and constant, as if something small has curled itself inside your vein and begun to unwrap. With purpose, with intelligence. Your vision flickers. The ceiling is too close. You blink and see something that isn't there. A swarm of insects suspended above your head, dancing in time with your heartbeat. You try to lift your arm again. It takes seconds longer than it should, as if the command had to pass through someone else first. You're not alone in your body anymore. That realization doesn't come with fear. It comes with silence, like your thoughts have been pushed to the corner and something colder has taken the center. The scratch is no longer just a scratch. It is a door, and something has stepped through it. By nightfall, the healer returns. He brings a priest. They do not come close. They circle you with salt. They chant. The priest throws herbs into the fire. Your eyes water. You laugh. It doesn't sound like you. They call it a curse. They say you've been touched by the Windwalker, that a spirit entered through your wound and now rides you like a horse. They smear your forehead with charcoal. They hold your mouth open and pour bitter sap down your throat. You vomit black. They believe it's working, but you can still feel the thing inside you, not dying, just hiding. It waits and it listens. And now it's learning how to move your fingers. The village no longer calls you by name. They call you ridden, taken, marked. The priest says a spirit has coiled itself behind your eyes, that it drinks your memories like milk, that it whispers sin into your skull and bends your body like wind in reeds. But it isn't a spirit. Not really. Not something divine or damned. Just something small, something ancient, something alive. They say demons cannot be seen, but if they could be, they would look like this, thread-thin, translucent, patient, sliding through blood vessels, nesting behind bone, tunnelling into warmth. You don't remember how it entered. A scratch, a fly, a breath. The method doesn't matter. What matters is where it goes. It doesn't settle in your lungs. It doesn't sit in your gut. It climbs upward into the brain. Because what it wants is not your body. It wants your decisions. You begin to feel it in strange places, moments you don't understand. You laugh when someone cries. You cry when the sun rises. You step toward a fire instead of away. Your mother finds you with your hands deep in the embers of the cooking pit, not screaming, not blinking, just watching your skin turn red. The pain only returns when someone else notices. You speak less, or you speak too much. Words you didn't mean, names you never learned, phrases in languages no one taught you. The priest says it's possession, that the gods are angry, that your soul has slipped its tether. But it hasn't slipped. It's been pushed aside. This thing inside you, it doesn't want you dead. It wants you useful. Modern men would one day give it a name, Toxoplasma gondii or something like it. A parasite that nests in the brain and rewires the host, makes rats unafraid of cats, makes humans reckless, impulsive, oblivious to threat. But your world doesn't know the word parasite, or neural pathways, or behavioural manipulation. They know only what they see, and what they see is terrifying. You're no longer afraid of things you once feared. Fire, knives, depth. You walk the edges of the well at night, staring down, not considering jumping, just wondering what would happen if you did. You eat things no one else eats, raw things, spoiled things. Your stomach accepts them all. Your body no longer belongs to your people. Your eyes no longer reflect your soul. And yet, you do not die. You live. You live when the fever should have taken you. You live when your wounds should have festered. You live when your mind should have collapsed. Because something inside is holding you up. Something small, something strong, and it is using you. The elders try salt, smoke, prayer. They tie a bell around your ankle so they'll hear when you leave the hut at night. But you've stopped walking. You crawl now, through the rafters, over the roof, under the floorboards. You don't remember doing it. But the bruises are there. The villagers begin to burn offerings in your name. They carve symbols into the trees. A child cries when you pass. A dog follows you, tail wagging, then drops dead 3 days later. The priest sprinkles ash over your threshold and leaves a dagger at your mother's door. They are preparing for the end, but nothing ends, because this isn't death, it's transformation. Parasites don't kill unless they have to. What they want is control, just enough to feed, just enough to spread. And when it's time, you'll open your mouth, you'll cough into the water, into someone else's food, into their skin, and then the voices won't just be in your head anymore, they'll be everywhere. You are not the first. In the temple walls of Thebes there are carvings of men with hollow eyes. Their bodies twist unnaturally, arms bent backward, spines arched, mouths frozen mid-scream. Above them, the gods extend hands of mercy. But the mercy never came. They say these were cursed, the unclean, the ones touched by darkness. But now we know what those priests never could. These men were not cursed. They were infected. Ancient Egypt recorded everything, births, floods, omens, taxes. But woven between the official records are fragments, descriptions of a sickness with no wound, a madness with no fever. Victims who walked for days without rest, who spoke in riddles, who bathed in mud and refused to eat cooked food. You know these signs now. You live them. You see yourself in the inscriptions, etched forever in stone, crouched beneath hieroglyphs for disease and soul. The line between the two was always thin, because how do you tell the difference between possession and infection when the symptoms look the same? You are taken to a temple. Your mother begs the priest-physician to see you. He arrives in a white linen robe, eyes coal-lined, hands scented with lotus. He does not greet you. He circles, observe, sniffs the air. He calls it Sechem Pesesh, the power that burns inside. They believe a god has entered your head, not out of love, but punishment. The god is restless, angry. It writhes behind your skull like a coiled serpent. The priest tells you not to resist, but resistance is long gone. You are carried to the house of life, a place of healing, of blood, of bone. You are shaved, scrubbed with natron and milk, painted with ochre, laid flat on a stone table that smells of crushed herbs and old sweat. The priest lifts a knife. You do not flinch. The blade is copper, thin, sharp, darkened by the fluids of those who came before. He presses it to your scalp, begins to cut, not deep, just enough to let the spirits out. Trepanation, the scholars will one day call it. A hole in the skull, a door for the madness to escape. But the madness isn't leaving, it's looking back. You see it when they peel the bone, when the pressure releases, when the air hits the soft tissue underneath. You hear the hiss, inside, not outside, like breathing from something that's never breathed air. They call it healing, but you know better. You survive. Most don't. Your wound is bound with linen and honey. Your head wrapped in palm leaves soaked in wine. They leave you in a dark room filled with incense. You dream of water, not the Nile, but something deeper, still, swarming. When you wake, something has changed. You don't shake anymore. You don't scream. Your limbs obey again, but slowly, like they're listening to two voices at once. The priests rejoice. They think the ritual worked. They take you to the sacred pool. They bathe you before the statue of Sekhmet, offer dates and beer in your name. You are now the girl who was healed, the one saved by the gods. But your mind is not clean. Your dreams are sharper now. You see the veins of others, how they pulse, how thin the skin is. You see your mother's hands tremble when she brings you food. You hear the priest's heartbeat when he prays too close. You smell water differently. You crave it. Not to drink, to enter. Because the Nile is not just water, it's a highway. Thousands bathe in it each morning, washing bodies, washing wounds, bleeding into it, drinking from it. You step into the river at dusk. You open your mouth beneath the surface. You release something. You don't know if it's a breath or a beginning. But when you turn back toward the temple, the torches seem dimmer, and you know, this is how kings fell, not by sword, not by rebellion, but by what they never saw, coiled inside the blood of their heirs, nesting in the skulls of their prophets, whispering through the bones of the ones they call divine. You're not alone. There are others like you, and there always were. Long before your village, long before the Nile. The worm had already found new hosts. East of the rivers, in the heart of old Mesopotamia, scribes wrote of soldiers who wandered into the desert sane and returned as beasts. Eyes wide, lips cracked, chanting the same phrase again and again until they collapsed in the sand and never rose. They called it the tongue of fire, because the afflicted didn't stop speaking. Even after their minds were gone, Ashurbanipal, king of Assyria, had a physician's journal copied onto stone slabs. One described a general who barked like a jackal, drank only from mud puddles, and attempted to eat the hem of his own armour. They chained him, buried him alive beneath a hill, not to punish him, to contain what was growing inside. In the scrolls of Herodotus, Greek historians whispered of a strange illness that swept through Persian war camps before battle. Men gnawed their fingernails to the bone. Officers laughed uncontrollably during religious rites. Whole battalions marched in circles until their feet bled. The gods, they said, had turned against them. But it wasn't gods. It was hunger, microscopic, ancient, blind. A worm carried in undercooked meat. or in river water during drought. A worm that travelled not through the gut but through blood, to the spine, to the brain. Once inside, it fed, not on flesh, but on behaviour. You feel that hunger now. It does not crave food, it craves command. You're sharper these days, your senses more alert, your reflexes faster, your pain distant, like someone else's echo. You don't remember the last time you bled. Your skin heals quickly. Your body obeys even the hardest tasks, so they make you a soldier. You do not resist. They put a spear in your hand and send you to guard the temple. Your legs do not tire. You stand for hours in the sun without blinking. You don't speak unless spoken to. You strike without question. You no longer dream of home. You no longer miss your name. And that's how it wins, not by killing you, by replacing you. The parasite does not want chaos. It wants order, predictable, efficient, repeating, obedient. It turns its host into machines, mechanisms for reproduction, for survival, for conquest. And the kings? They saw only loyalty, zeal, devotion. They never looked close enough to see the price. In Babylon, clay tablets describe entire priesthoods who walked into the river, singing and drowned with smiles on their faces. Not suicide, they said, sacrifice, a ritual gone too deep. In Persia, there were cities where no children were born for 20 years. No one knew why. The midwives said the mothers never bled, the infants never cried, and the eyes of the fathers looked wrong. You remember that look now. You saw it in your own reflection last night, in the copper shield beside your bed. Eyes too wide, jaw slack, a mouth slightly parted, not from breath, but from anticipation. The worm isn't finished with you, it's learning. Each new host brings a new strategy, each infection, a new experiment, and you, soldier, vessel, survivor, you're just one more chapter in a story far older than kings, because empires rise with men who cannot feel fear, empires fall with men who no longer ask questions, and the worm knows this, because it was there before the empires, and it will be there after. It spreads faster now, not through battle, not through blood, but through touch, through breath, through water. You return to your village, not as a child, not as a daughter, not even as yourself. You return empty. Your body remembers the way. Your feet find the same worn paths. Your voice echoes familiar greetings. But the people who knew you sense it first. They smile, then they stare, then they step back. Your mother faints when she sees your eyes. You do not flinch. The infection has grown clever, quiet. The sores are gone. The twitching stilled. Your skin looks clean, your speech is calm, your posture perfect, but you're not healed. You're finished. The parasite has refined you, and now you're its messenger. You sit among them at meals, you eat slowly, you drink from the communal bowl, you touch hands, you press lips to cheeks, you hum old lullabies, and one by one they begin to change. Not dramatically, not at first. Just small things. A missed step. A blank stare. A question asked twice. Someone wakes in the night and doesn't know where they are. Someone else begins to laugh during prayer. The priest says it's a fever, but he speaks too quickly now, and his fingers tremble. You watch as the village forgets what it feared, because this time there is no screaming, no sores, no madness, only order. No one resists. No one questions. They begin to move in patterns. Everyone rises at dawn. Everyone washes in the same stream. Everyone eats at the same time. No one speaks out of turn. The silence becomes sacred. Even the animals seem changed. Dogs no longer bark. Birds do not flee. The goats stand motionless for hours, eyes unfocused, chewing nothing. It feels like peace, but it isn't. It is programming, and you are the prototype. Centuries later, scientists would study parasites that controlled the minds of ants, fungus that made them climb high and lock their jaws before the spores burst from their heads, worms that made fish swim toward birds, insects that laid eggs inside living flesh, and they would laugh. Because those creatures were small, simple, but you're not an ant. You're human. And the thing inside you has adapted. The ancient scrolls speak of dancing plagues, entire villages overtaken by fits of movement, hundreds of people swaying, jerking, twirling until their feet bled. Some danced until they dropped dead in the street. The church called it sin. Historians would call it hysteria. But the body count says otherwise. There were outbreaks across Europe in AD 1021, 1237, 1374, and again in 1518. Always near rivers, always after drought, always beginning with one who smiled too much, one who walked through fire without pain, one who touched others too often, too softly, too long. You are that one. In your village they begin to dance. It starts with a child, then 2, then 10. They move without rhythm, without music, arms limp, heads tilted, as if invisible strings had been tied to their limbs. You do not dance. You watch, because puppets don't control themselves, and the parasite isn't finished. It's testing range, testing mass. When the visitors arrive, traders from the next province, they find no music, no feasting, no shouting, only movement. Dozens of villagers swaying in perfect silence. The traders return home sick. Weeks later, their wives weep in the temple. Their sons speak in riddles. Their daughters claw at the walls, then stand still for days. It spreads again, from village to city, from city to capital. No one knows how to stop it, because you cannot kill what does not reveal itself. You cannot fight what never shows its teeth. You cannot heal what wears your face. The parasite doesn't want extinction. It wants compliance. And you, once a girl, now a vessel, have become its architect. You walk through the centre of town. Children part for you like water. Elders bow their heads. And though no one speaks, everyone understands. They are no longer afraid. They are no longer free. You still speak. You still smile. You still answer when called. But none of those things come from you. There's something else behind the eyes now. Something watching from the dark. You feel it every time you blink. That moment of silence between vision and blindness, when the world disappears and comes back slightly, altered. You used to hear your own voice in your thoughts. Now it's quieter, muffled, like it's speaking from underwater, and sometimes not at all. You wake up standing in doorways, unaware of how long you've been there. You find dirt under your fingernails and blood on your heel. You don't remember walking. You don't remember the wound. You just remember the stillness, the comfort of not being the one in control. Because that's what the parasite gives you. Freedom from decision, from fear, from guilt. You don't have to choose anymore. It chooses for you. It starts subtly. You eat even when you're full. You don't sleep, but you don't tire. You speak with a strange certainty, as though you already know how others will respond, and you do. You understand people now, their fears, their instincts, their tells, because the thing inside you needs you to understand them. Control begins with prediction. It's clever. It doesn't erase you all at once. That would cause panic, resistance. It leaves you just enough of yourself to believe you're still whole, but you're not. You can't cry anymore. The body doesn't know how. You try. Once, late at night, curled in a straw mat beside your sister, you think about who you were, about the time you wept when your dog was crushed under the ox cart, about how your chest used to ache when your mother held your hand too tightly. You think about those things, but the tears didn't come. Instead, your face stays calm, eyes wide, lips parted slightly, because the thing inside you doesn't understand sorrow. It doesn't need it. It has no use for grief. It only understands what helps it grow. And sadness does not spread, but confidence does, stillness does, Certainty spreads like fire in dry grass. So that's what it gives you. You become a figure others follow. They listen when you speak. They lean in. They nod. They smile at your silence. You are not revered. You are obeyed. And somewhere, deep in the back of your mind, buried beneath layers of what used to be you, there is a voice, faint, distant, begging. But no one can hear it now, not even you. Because this isn't possession, it's integration. The parasite isn't a guest anymore, it's the host, and you're just the skin it wears. You die without warning, no screaming, no convulsions, just stillness. One night, your body lies down and doesn't rise. The villagers find you the next morning, eyes half open, mouth curved into a faint smile. Not the kind born from joy, something stranger, something closer to relief. They don't mourn, not loudly. They wrap you in clean linen. They place coins on your eyes, though your family can't afford the silver. They say prayers. They burn herbs, but none of it is for you. It's for themselves. Because they've seen what follows death. They've seen what lingers. Your skin shows no wounds, no fever, no reason. Just the faint bruising around the temples and the darkened veins beneath the wrists. But you are healthy, they say, strong, walking just yesterday. So they whisper the other word, taken. You're buried far from the others, not in the family plot, not in the consecrated ground, but beneath a tree at the edge of the fields, a place where the roots grow thick and tangled, a place where nothing grows clean. They pile stones over your grave, not to honour, to contain, because they do not believe you're truly gone, and they're right. In the months that follow, others begin to change, one by one, softly. Children stop playing, women forget names, men wake in the night and stare at walls for hours. They say it's grief. They say the infection has passed. But the truth is simpler. The parasite never needed you to live, only to spread. In ancient burial sites, archaeologists will one day uncover skulls like yours, small holes drilled into the top, as if something once pushed its way in, or out. Bones too clean, teeth ground flat, no records, no names, just patterns, evidence, but no answers. Historians will argue, some will say it was epilepsy, or mass hysteria, or a lack of salt in the blood. They'll study the remains, label the symptoms, classify the decay. They will try to make it fit into a story they can understand, but they will never ask the right question. Because the right question is not what you were infected by, it's who you became. And no one wants to face the truth that the mind is a fragile thing, easily shaped, easily stolen. That identity is nothing but a whisper in the dark. And that's something far older than civilization once learned to quiet that whisper. Your body is gone, your name forgotten. But in the quiet corners of history, in the gaps between scrolls and scripture, your story survives, not as a person, but as a pattern, a sickness that was never cured, a silence that was never broken, a parasite that learned to wear a human face. And somewhere, across the water, across the centuries, it still waits, not to return, to awaken.